while our loyal staff here is making some changes to the stage before we get into the meat of the program, let me make just a few announcements. We want to recognize the support that we've gotten from Qatar Airways. They're both a platinum sponsor this year, as well as host of our IGHC Gala Dinner tomorrow night for the second year in a row. How many of you guys here were in Doha? Raise your hands. Do you remember the dinner? Do you remember the gala dinner? Pretty special event. I think that they're going to try and do something similar this year. So it's going to be an evening not to be missed, and we really appreciate that. We also want to recognize the other platinum sponsors, Havas and PayCargo. PayCargo is also the sponsor of this morning's opening session. Additionally, we want to thank all those other organizations that are making this IGHC possible and successful. Our gold, silver, media sponsors, and supporting organizations. The full list of these is on your pocket guide, as well as on your networking tool that you received at registration. Just a couple of housekeeping items. All the morning plenary sessions will be here in this ballroom, the England Ballroom. The exhibition area is in what they call the Italian Ballroom, which is you go out, turn right, it's right over there. That's also where all of our coffee breaks, lunches, and cocktail reception this evening will be held. Something new this year for the IGHC is a feature called the Biz Zone. And it's dedicated to the networking meetings that are actually the core kind of reason of having an IGHC, to get airlines and ground handlers, suppliers and purchasers together. And that little area is located right across the hall. If you need any assistance in using the networking tool to book your meetings, you need to visit the information station that's right inside there and to your right. We think it's going to be a very useful part of your IGHC experience. If you want to have a good high-level overview of what's happening, if you're like me, I need something to kind of keep me on track. You're given this little pocket guide. It's got all the things you need to know, the sponsors. It's got the program at a glance. It's something to refer to. But for a more detailed view, you need to use your phone and get the networking tool downloaded, because that not only helps you communicate, but it gives you, what's when for each of the sessions. You can find out the speaker background, all sorts of information. So I really encourage you to use that to help you get through the time. So that's enough kind of rabbiting on. We're ready to get into the first of our real meat of the IGHC sessions. We're going to talk about the ramp of the future. It's something that's been alluded to by all three of our opening speakers. We have a panel discussion. I'm going to ask Joseph Sweetan to bring him and his panel up here and do the next part of our program. Joseph. You're welcome.
Okay, let's get to the real thing now. Let's get to the heartbeat of the plenary session, ramp of the future. You have heard it from the distinguished guests. You have heard it from the CEO of Iberia. You have heard it from the Director General of AENA Airports. And you have heard it from IATA, our SVP. Ramp of the future. We always talk about the future, but when we want to talk about the ramp of the future, we have to look at the ramp of today. So let's start from looking at the ramp of today before we get to the ramp of the future. What is happening right now, we need to make an assumption, right? We need to make an assumption that our enlightened leaders and company would prevail. You agree with me, right? And this is the right assumption. And we really need to move fastward. Everybody is having television and fast forward. So let's go fast forward 10 to 15 years from now. Let's take it 10 to 15 years from now. And what we should be doing to see where those 10 to 15 years from now, the thinking will take us and how we got there. Of course, in our world, we are moving to the advances in the artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence has transformed our world in an amazing way. Autonomous, everybody talk about it, the autonomous driving equipment now constitute this self-propelled equipment. And the robotics, when we think about robotics, think about the future, the robotics now facilitate our loading and offloading. You know what? The robotics now are taking over our operation, whether we like it or not. We talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about robotics, where it is going to be. And from the robotics, they control our cargo warehouses. Robotics now can change the shelving and moving cargo. And then we talk about, from the robotics perspective, about baggage as well, like baggage delivery, offloading, outgoing processes in the baggage. However, if we gonna take all this and bring it to the hardcore of it, where is our problem in ground operation? Huh? We ask ourselves, is the labor shortage? And with the implementation of the ramp of the future, the labor shortage for ramp workers now has been eliminated and replaced. Look fast forward, 10 to 15 years from now. We have to really eliminate and replace by keeping up the recruiting and training needs for the artificial intelligence and the robotics, the technicons. So we do have ramp people working on a ramp. Are we going to hire the same when we're going to move into technology, to innovation? We're going to need technicons. We call them technicons, not ramp operators, technicons. So those people, they're going to drive us in the technology, in the words of innovation, in the words of this amazing artificial intelligence. Having talked about all this right now, please join me to have a really exciting session, a session that comes from the heart, giving the thinking that we have learned from our ancestors and move forward with it. I would like to invite to the stage our panelists to join us. They are waiting for us on the other side and there. I would like to welcome, please join me to welcome Ushi Shutul-Sase. Please proceed to the podium. Please give her a hand. Hello, Ushi. Thank you so much. Please have a seat. This is first class, this is business class, and Fabio takes the economy, yeah? So please. Okay, Ushi, she is our senior executive with extensive international experience in the aviation. She's been graduated in computer science, business administration, and economics. And Ushi has been working at Inform since 1989 in various positions: the system analyst, project manager, and senior project manager. So you moved well. And in the automotive and chemical industry, as well as gaining vast experience in the international aviation business. In 1996, Ushi was appointed Deputy Director of the Aviation Division. In 2012, she became Senior Vice President. Having a little chat with Ushi this morning at the speaker's room, she told me a nice story. She told me that her dad was a pilot, and she was with him all over the airports. So her passion in innovation and technology has really moved her into working in the innovation on the ramp and being at the airport. Big hands to Ushi, please.
Thank you.
Dr. Harald Seiki, please proceed. Hello, Harald. What's your steps? Good. Please have a seat. You take business class, right?
Oh, why not echo?
Oh, no, 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 no. I'm keeping that VIP chair later on. Harold is the head of the department at Fraunhofer. Have you ever heard about Fraunhofer? It's the research institute located in Germany, in Frankfurt, right? You will tell later. Okay.
Yeah.
It's for material flow and aviation logistics. In his function, he is pushing the department reorientation, particularly in the areas of IT, AI, artificial intelligence, and AR.
Augmented reality.
Bravo. Digitalization, because we're going to be talking about every abbreviation on the new technologies, so please bear with us. Digitalization and production. Harold studied in industrial engineer and management with a major in mechanical engineering at the Technical University of Darmstadt. Pronounce it correct?
Darmstadt.
Good. In 2010, he received his doctoral degree in logistics from the Technical University of Dortmund. Here we go. He has extensive experience in air traffic logistics and has been instrumental in the development and expansion of air cargo hubs. Harold, thank you for coming to us here and share your experience with the delegates in here. Give your hand to Harold, please.
Thank you.
And now, I would like to call on Fabio Gamma, Director General, Airport Services Association. Please give him a hand. He's the new Director General of ASA. You know that many of you in this room are part of the association. Fabio, I didn't mean economic class seat, I mean the VIP seat. Of course. Right? This comes from the heart, huh? Okay, Fabio, he's just been elected the new Director General. He replaced John Conway. You know John Conway. Have also extended a lot of time in working and shaping ASA. Thank you for being here, Fabio. Fabio is a seasoned manager in air transport with more than 20 years in the industry. I've been more than you, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll take it from here. All right, so Fabio has proceeded with the position of a deputy SG.
Secretary General.
Thank you. Of the now defunct Association of European Airlines, AEA. We all know about it. Before leading the European Business Aviation Association, EBAA, during 6 years until 2016. He is currently managing 2 associations in parallel, namely the Airline Catering Association, ACA, based in Belgium, and the Airport Services Association, of course, ASA, which you all know about ASA, that encompass 80 to 90 of the ground service providers around the world. And your delegates are here. Okay, so let's start our plenary session, and I will pass on to Ushi first as to start with us. Thank you very much. We will start our plenary now.
Thank you, Joseph. Oh, yep, got it. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you. No, no, no. Oh, your video.
My video. Not your video, my video.
Go.
Okay, so let's start with the video. Please.
Current forecasts predict exponential growth in air travel. Passenger demand is expected to double over the next 20 years. Over 38,000 new aircraft will enter the skies during this time. Airports are going to be really pressed for space, pressed for clean air, really busy, and really, really noisy. Airport extension is not the only solution. We have to work smarter. Aircraft are already connected to the ground. We just need to connect them to operations in smarter ways. Digitalization will facilitate the exchange of data in real time. Information will complement human-to-human with machine-to-machine interactions. Predictive analysis will enhance our capability to accommodate more traffic and improve our turnaround performance. Every person and piece of equipment needed for the turnaround is checked for compatibility with the arriving aircraft and will be available to perform their function in the right sequence. The right equipment, the right people, in the right place at the right time. Our developing technologies are not only about just in time or being efficient. All of our equipment, right from the aircraft through to the smallest tractor, is potentially capable of running cleaner and being less noisy. New generation batteries and alternative green fuels are already making this possible. Even aircraft can switch off their main engines and taxi on electrical power. Electrical control systems are becoming more precise, which is enabling more autonomous operations. This is how we see our ramp of the future. This is CEDAR, a connected, ecological, digital, autonomous ramp.
This is the CEDAR project. This is our ramp of the future. And this is what the discussion will be going around. And now, please allow me again to introduce back Ushi to the stage and with her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph. And welcome from my side, and thanks for all of you being here, for your interest in this topic, Ramp of the Future. In preparation of this session, I was wondering, what are you passionate about? What is your biggest wish in making ramp digitalization happen? And how far are you along in that journey? And what are your future plans? What are you moving forward? I'm passionate about optimization and optimizing what was in the video before and also in the video that Nick showed earlier, is to have the right resources at the right place at the right time, but also about connections. Connections that enable us to get a bigger picture and to enhance the quality of that bigger picture. And that is why I love the statement from Charles Eames that eventually everything connects, and that the quality of the connection is the key to quality per se. Charles Eames was a famous designer, artist, and philosopher, and his credo was, function is the key of design, and we're designing here the ramp of the future. So I thought that was a very fitting statement. And in 1977, the movie from Charles Eames, The Power of 10, was released. And actually, that was an astonishing first glimpse at Google Earth 25 years before Google Earth was initially released. So he was a futurist looking into the future. And actually, there are parallels in this movie to the aviation. There's a link. It's taking off and flying. But there's also other parallels in scaling and connecting different levels. And I want to show you the first part of that movie just to get you into the scene.
The picnic near the lakeside in Chicago is the start of a lazy afternoon, early one October. We begin with a scene 1 meter wide, which we view from just 1 meter away. Now, every 10 seconds, we will look from 10 times farther away, and our field of view will be 10 times wider. This square is 10 meters wide, and in 10 seconds, the next square will be 10 times as wide. Our picture will center on the picnickers, even after they've been lost to sight. 100 meters wide. The distance a man can run in 10 seconds. Cars crowd the highway. Powerboats lie at their docks. The colorful bleachers are Soldiers Field. This square is 1 kilometer wide, 1,000 meters. The distance a racing car can travel in 10 seconds. We see the great city on the lake shore. 10 to the 4th meters, 10 kilometers. The distance a supersonic airplane can travel in 10 seconds. We see first the rounded end of Lake Michigan, then the whole Great Lake. 10 to the 5th meters, the distance an orbiting satellite covers in 10 seconds. Long parades of clouds, the day's weather in the Middle West. 10 to the 6th, a 1 with 6 zeros, 1 million meters. Soon the Earth will show as a solid sphere. We are able to see the whole Earth now, just over a minute along the journey.
Now, the movie continues for quite some while, and I encourage you to watch it. It's actually pretty cool. But we're moving back to airport level. We're right here at the airport, where you can still see all the details, the infrastructure, the bridge is not docked, the passenger details are available, flight data with timestamps are there. We have the GSE equipment, their location and status. And actually, our partner Saya is a company who can already do some virtual reality here and get all the status and events already identified by video images. But what we also see here is the staff, the ground staff, who just finished their meal break, eat at their picnic. Moving that 10 times higher, we're now adding additional information and bringing the whole thing to a task level, where we have the resource and the task assignments giving us transparency and optimization opportunities. Continuing to go higher, we're now adding information to that task level, which we're aggregating, like on-block, off-blocks, doors open or closed, passenger transfers, to actually be able to optimize on a process level. Continuing even higher, we are now merging various ground handling processes together to define a turnaround. And on that turnaround level, we're not looking at single flights anymore, but we're looking at a whole zone, an area that, for example, would be the view of a ramp agent or a supervisor looking for a whole area and trying to optimize in that level. Continuing to fly higher, we're now looking at a whole airport, a whole handling department, everything that you have to look at. At 5,000 feet, we're not yet at cruising altitude, but nevertheless, we're already looking at the whole airport. Now, if you're working at an airport, that might be sufficient for you. If you're working for an airline, you want to take that a bit further and look at your complete network, the knock-on effects that you have for your hubs or your feeder flights. And one of my small dreams is to have network-wide resource optimization, to actually have that network-wide transparency through all the connections, delay propagation, have the proactive network balancing, not only for your MRO stations that you have, but also have a network-wide cost model that enables you to see and mitigate potentially negative financial or performance effects in your network. Now, that is already in the making, and it's available in the not-so-far future. I don't dream small, I tend to dream big, so I want more. I foresee quality connections on a world of aviation level. And I see industry standards that enable us to use applications like OpenFlight's, OAG, FlightAware, Flight Radar 24 to actually provide global flight information and flight statuses. Merge that together with your network information and aviation weather, for example, from Ubimet, who have a booth outside, who are our partner. And then that becomes available to all of your customers. And not everybody has to determine their single little data field. And actually, Ramp of the Future is working on those industry standards. That's what they're enabling. Now, how far are we in this big dream? Well, back to our airport level. As Joseph said, start where we are now. And we're taking this to, it's kind of small at the bottom there, to level 42, which is the answer to all questions. And all of you are already using traditional decision-making, but we want to enhance that traditional decision-making by further digitalization, using all the historical data from the past that we already have, mixing in all the IoT information that is now available, merging them all together, and then adding machine-to-machine interfaces like the autonomous vehicles and GSEs that Harald will be talking about, to actually enable a lot broader decision-making model. And as I work or head the division in an optimization software company, my dream is to have hybrid decision-making available by merging artificial intelligence and all the means and measures and algorithms that we have there together with human intelligence, because I believe that the mix is the way that we should go forward to, and actually have a hybrid decision-making approach to enable you to really fully optimize the big picture. That's my brief intro.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Harold, please, your turn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
I'd like to give you also a warm welcome to my presentation in regard of ramp mobility and smart cargo handling. Joseph, thank you for trying. I know it's difficult because, as you indicated, Fraunhofer is not really, let's say, familiar abroad, meaning outside of Germany. And even so, we are the leading organization for applied research. Meaning, if we are looking into things, we are not doing it for the draw, but together with our customers for really bringing it into operation and into the field. We are a non-profit organization, and we are, let's say, set up out of 72 institutes. For the details, I refer to the afternoon. There's another Ramp of the Future session where a colleague of mine will tell you a bit more even about Fraunhofer. But for the moment, you know, if I would ask you who knows Fraunhofer, most of you wouldn't know, and the ones raising their hands most likely would know me. So Fraunhofer is not as popular or familiar as their inventions. If you imagine Apple and iTunes, everybody knows it, but behind it there's MP3 at the beginning, and this was a Fraunhofer invention. And this was one invention out of many that you are not aware of that Fraunhofer is standing behind. So we are doing great things, and we are doing it together with customers. And myself, my name is Harold Sieke, and I'm head of the Department of Aviation Logistics within one of those 72 institutes. So we are having really lots of employees all together, not our institute, but the Fraunhofer in whole, something like 25,000 employees. So just giving you that short introduction about Fraunhofer. And we as a department, we are doing projects together with customers, meaning we are doing industry projects together with customers, meaning standard things, terminal setups and developments, the complete value chain for the aviation industry. So if you would have problems, we could solve them. But on the other hand, in order to be at the outer edge of development, we are looking into really nice stuff. And I would like to give you a flavor of what we are doing in terms of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, everybody thinks, yeah, it's something that we kind of know of, we have kind of a feeling. Some of it is, let's say, influenced by movies, and for that, we have chosen not Terminator, but a more friendly face here to say we are experiencing really the dawn of artificial intelligence, meaning it's just the beginning. Some of you might already use chatbots and all those things that currently are so nice to see, this video recognition or picture recognition, that such a device can really show us, hey, this is a bus or this is whatever kind of piece that is there, which is for us as aviation logistics important during the process of cargo recognition, which, like I said, my colleague will show you today in the afternoon a bit more. At the end, with artificial intelligence, in our eyes, the unthinkable becomes conceivable. So we can do a lot, but considering that those things like recognition, voice recognition, and answering simple questions, or even doing, in our eyes, complex tasks like winning against humans in Go or in chess, this is something really done by weak artificial intelligence. Meaning today we are at the status, not at the, so to say, Terminator, the strong artificial intelligence status, but at the weak one. And so there shouldn't be, let's say, too many fears about this Terminator thing. We as a research institute, we see artificial intelligence as the lubricant for things that we all here have discussed for years already, meaning autonomous vehicles, Internet of Things, drones, robots, augmented reality. Those are things which would hardly be as efficient as they can be with artificial intelligence. So we as Fraunhofer, we are looking into those and trying to put artificial intelligence in use and really making our life easier in future. It's there for some, like the chatbots, some applications already, but there are much nicer things to come. And we see them, I'd like to give you that overview here in all areas around the aviation industry, meaning from the passenger side to the luggage side and also cargo side, so which you see here up front. And they are moving in the environment defined by those things like aircraft, the apron, the terminal, and the delivery from and to the airport. I will give you a short overview, which is a bit derived from the cargo sector, meaning the right side of this matrix. And this is a picture of the future of the ramp in terms of what is going to happen. It's sketchy, and it's put here to better understand it. You see in the bottom row the icons that we have used up with the artificial intelligence, where we see that artificial intelligence during those different processes along the value chain will have influence, and where we will use the power of artificial intelligence to make those processes smoother, especially in terms of those things like shortages in manpower that we are experiencing. Not all airports around the world, there are some places they do, others they don't have this shortage, but we as Fraunhofer, we are looking in both, meaning, or in all. If you're going into those research projects, we're looking into them on different levels, meaning we know about this global network, we are knowing about the different requirements worldwide at airports. And we as Fraunhofer, if you look at the left side of this sketch here, you have two circles, and there you have mainly the autonomous driving. We as Fraunhofer, we are doing research there. Again, my colleague will tell you about this project that we are currently doing at the Frankfurt Airport, where we will have end of the year an autonomous vehicle driving from a forwarder to a ground handler. We have also the build-up, which you see in the center circle here. Those three, my colleague will give you a better overview. I will stay more to the topic on the right side that you're seeing here, where you see that autonomous driving, robots, and in part also augmented reality will play a big role. And if we talk about that, we always need to remind ourselves that if we would have, let's say, a new kind or type of aircraft, then we will have, even in 20 or 30 years, still the aircraft in place which are in operation today. So you will have duplications in processes and maybe also equipment. Oops, this was the wrong direction. And for the right circle that I showed you at the ramp, we just recently finished a study where we looked into the automated transport at apron, and where we could see the highest potential. I'd like each of you, whoever has interest in that, to approach me afterwards, because I can provide a link here where you can download the study. In general, we had some key findings here which are kind of self-explaining, but we could prove that those are true, and other results which I am not be able due of shortage in time, please, just like I said, approach me later on. So key finding here is transport processes will have a higher potential, meaning the transport of passenger cargo and also their luggage. We do see things in narrowband IoT, a nice technology coming around and which can be used in other things. We do see things in augmented reality for those HoloLens. Whoever knows it and tried it, he or she will be excited about it. We are really having it. We invite you to Munich, where we can show it to you in real life, a demonstrator and setup. And I would like to give you this short sneak preview and like to tease you to come today at 1:30 to the other workshop, and where my colleague will tell you more about those three things here. And this is, for you not familiar with augmented reality, misspelling on purpose, meaning we are ready in regard of augmented reality and artificial intelligence. And I'm sorry, it was a bit longer than I originally planned, and which I was allowed to really use, but you know, I could continue maybe for the whole day now and could give you a lot of examples what nice things we as a department alone are doing. So if I could, let's say, initiate your interest, just approach us later, or please come along with a lot of questions afterwards when we have the panel discussion, because this enriches everything here. So thank you very much, and sorry for being a bit longer.
No. That's what we are here for. Thank you very much. Thank you, Harold. Fabio, your show.
Do we have the return here? Yes. Great. Thank you, Joseph.
Just before you start, Fabio, just want to remind the audience that will be, start preparing yourself for any questions related to the session in here, and please engage with us. We need your engagement. Fabio.
Thank you, Joseph. Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Joseph, as well, for attributing me the coach seat. That's the way I like to travel. And by the way, I feel like Madonna singing at the Eurovision Song Contest with this thing. It's kind of weird. Anyway, I was attributing the task of talking about the human factors on the ramp. I have to start with an apology. You may have expected to have Steve Allen, a Senior Vice President of the NATA, speaking instead of me, but he couldn't make it at the very last moment, so he asked me to step in. By the way, Steve Allen is, as you may know, also the chairman of ASA. So let's get started. I think we all know the afflictions of the ramp today. It's obviously a labor-intensive industry. It's a lot of, it's very siloed between the different units. And as we have learned and heard today, it obviously lacks investment. It is still very much based on paper, poor communication, obviously limited real-time information, no situational awareness. As we've heard as well this morning, pretty old design, if not very antiquated design. But to our credit, it's true that we're not being helped by the sometimes totally inadequate infrastructure, as we know. So, the ramp of tomorrow, how do we jump from the 20th century, if not the first part of the 20th century, to the real 21st century? Obviously, what you see here is a little bit apple pie and motherhood, but I think that we will have to come to autonomous, connected, and optimized business. If you're thinking about this, this is already the case in many different industries that are connected with air transport. Of course, there are connected aircraft. We hope so. But if you think about ADS-B and being compulsory now in the US and soon in Europe as well, connected airports, of course, we would like to, and there will be no choice for us to be looking at these three objectives with connecting employees. We've heard about autonomous vehicles. Who would have said 5 years ago that we would be at that stage today? Robotics. Joseph, you said robotics is already a reality today. It is, actually, and we will see, whether we like it or not, a gradual shift from where we are today in terms of intensive manual work into more added value work for people, as robots will gradually replace humans in the hardest and toughest jobs. The challenges are known, and let's be honest, as we've heard this morning, it's not the most glamorous job on the planet. We have a lot of very high, actually, turnover. So the job attractiveness is not as we believe and we wish it would be. It's actually something where Language as well is playing a major role. Obviously, the training and most of the manuals are in English, and this can be a problem for a lot of people working globally. If not, and actually I must say that we are more and more confronted as well with something like we call illiteracy, where it's becoming really difficult to train people. A lot of lack of equipment investments, but we're going to talk about that, I guess, more extensively at a later stage. And of course, training that is not always adequate and appropriate. And of course, all this with more and more pressure from the airlines, as we've seen, with operations growing. There are fixes to the cracks, though, even though they can be costly. I think that you've seen that a lot of us have tried to boost a little bit the company culture, that we've tried to improve the facilities and the welfare of the workers. In some cases, also increase of salaries. As you know, in most cases, we're talking about minimum wages, and to have flexible working conditions. All that is very nice. Let's not kid ourselves. This is possible mostly for the major, guys out there. It's extremely difficult, if not impossible, for the moms and pops shops that abound around the world, and these are not thinkable. So all this is very nice. It's, in reality, it's different. Now, technology can be a major rescue to us. We've talked about AI. We can try and boost the learning by more appropriate and more targeted training sessions. We may, of course, offer information at our fingertips or at the workers' fingertips. And things are already, somehow mature, like smartwatches, headsets, augmented reality to a certain extent. We may have translation software for those people who do not speak English. And as we've seen, robotics and autonomous vehicles will come to the rescue. But, and there's always a but, I'm afraid, these changes are obviously difficult. There is a lot of resistance from within, as well as from outside in terms of costs. And these things will, I'm afraid, take some more time. So the good thing is we will have to adapt. We are adapting already. And if we do not adapt, we'll disappear like the dinosaurs. And what we'll see here is that there will be a gradual shift of the tasks and of the nature of the people working in this industry. For instance, here we will see the management coming from a command and control typical management culture into complex solution and problem solvers. The supervisors will shift from a hands-on type of work to being more technicians, being more data collectors, data scientists, and the manual workers, those who are working in these difficult conditions on the ramp, will be more proactive because they will be more situational aware and they will be more informed. And so let me conclude with the challenge that I think we're faced with in terms of the attractiveness that we may, let's say, that we are offering to the millennials, to everything that comes after the Gen Z and the Gen Y, and I don't know how you call them now. The good thing is more and more of them are trained and are becoming data scientists. The bad news, though, is that, as I said, the attractiveness that we are offering is pretty low. And so I think that the biggest challenge that we're really faced with is how we will be able to attract them. But I would conclude by this, Joseph, I think it's not so much a problem, or not only a problem of ground handling, it's as well a problem of air transport in general. And I think here we're all faced with the same battle. But with some creativity, I'm sure that we will have our say in trying to attract them. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Fabio. Very well said. Very well. I think we are rushing on time a little bit in here. We have heard from the IT, from the Institute of Research in here, and from ASA, from Human Touch in here. There is any questions to our panelists from the floor, please raise your hand, and our colleagues from IATA in here will be very happy to pass the microphone. And we would like to extend it for 5 more minutes, please, for the session. John, you're okay? Okay, can we have any questions from the floor? Any question on the ramp of the future where it has been? Thank you. Bob.
Hi, good morning, everybody. Bob Rogers from ULD Care, known to a few of you as the ULD guy. Thank you very much to the panelists for some great presentations, and I agree, this is all really exciting stuff. But, you know, Nick Green made an interesting point. He said, I could go right back on the ramp. I haven't been on there for, I think he said 20 years, but he said I'd fit right in. I think the more scary thing is the aircraft that are coming off Boeing and Airbus's production lines today and are going to be flying for 30 more years will still use the same systems for loading and unloading of cargo and ULD. And this is a totally labor-intensive process. So my question to the panel is, what's it going to take to persuade the airlines to pony up some money to invest in aircraft that don't rely on human labor to load them? Because until we crack this one, we're stuck. Thank you.
Who wants to take it?
Well, I think that is one of the actual critical success factors, is what Bob mentioned, is to actually get the funding for the projects. Like, who's going to pay for it? And I think that is one of the biggest hurdles in moving Ramp of the Future along. And I think that you need to take it in baby steps and actually really just have incremental increases to show with every little project that you have that the funding is right, that there is return on invest, that it makes the life of the employees better, the turnaround better, and that it just kind of increases the efficiency in the overall turnaround. So I think funding is a big problem, and I think there is no easy answer to it, except for really trying to take it gradually.
I do like to add something to that, because we as Fraunhofer, we are engaged in different working groups, and Airbus, as an example, they are working on, let's say, things that you were mentioning. So it's something that will come, it will need their time to be implemented in aircraft, and you're right, it's at the end something also who's paying for it, but if we stay with the aircraft as they are currently, we do have another project. Again, I can refer there to my colleague. He will introduce a bit to that today in the afternoon. We have been awarded the contract just recently with Munich Airport. They are paying us for going into the development of a robot that is able to load in the beginning loose cargo and also loose luggage, and later on also loose cargo. So there are things happening, and for the aircraft type and today in operation, and also adaptation from the manufacturer side. And I believe if Airbus is doing it, Boeing will not be much behind. Or
Yeah.
So there are things happening. But at the end, the money is really important.
Yeah, I have to add mine as well. Response. Yeah, I guess this question sums it all, and it's an interesting one, because what we all know is that there is a race to the bottom, and that makes it extremely difficult for ground handlers to be able to, benefit from investments that would help the sector innovate. With my other hats, I am also, as you said, Joseph, I'm also working for the catering industry. And what you see there is, somehow identical, but with a major difference. Airlines do consider catering as a brand differentiator. And so when the cycle is upwards, they will tend to invest a bit more in catering, and that makes the whole difference. There's no such brand differentiation at this stage for ground handling, and hence we do not benefit from upward cycles in the same way that catering can. So I believe this question of investment is really the million-dollar question.
Right.
And I'm not providing any answer here, just my view on why it is.
Right. Good. Bob, that was very interesting question. Thank you very much for bringing it up. Peter.
Yeah, if I just may respond. So Peter Estey from Airbus. So I fully agree with all what has been said. Bob is fully right when saying we will produce a lot of aircraft which are exactly the same as today for the next years to come. So you will see those aircraft for the next 30, 40 years. Nevertheless, we're doing a lot for the future, but we can also do a lot right now. We have a cargo loading system for the single aisle. We understand that it is an option. Only 20% of our airlines take the option. So there are issues why they're not taking the option. I think we can work on this. We can work on trying to make the cargo loading system more interesting also for the airlines, that they are willing to pay the penalty of having more weight on the aircraft and maintenance, but seeing the interest they get from the airport and from the ground handling. And maybe there are some other issues like logistics of containers, of cargo loaders. I think we have to work on this. And this is the forum to discuss. Maybe we should stop talking, but now try to actually do something about that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's start the action. Any other question from the floor? Thank you, Peter. It was a very good one. Any comments from your side on that, or we move? Okay, thank you. Any other question from the floor? No?
Joseph, don't we have another session this afternoon on this?
Yes.
We're going to be talking about it, I think, all week. So,
yes, exactly. So there will be another sessions going on. Please attend. There is the boot camp on the next, and the boot camp of the future running outside. And what Harold just mentioned, there is a presentation also from your side on Fraunhofer. Before I hand over and we close the session, I know we have already went ahead of our time. There would be a future challenge for the ground handling, airlines, manufacturers, and airports in making the technology leap a fundamental one for the 10, from the 10 to the 15 years to come. Closing the session, I would like to sincerely thank the panelists sitting with us in here. Thank you very much for your contribution to the industry. But I also would like to thank also my colleague, Massimo Ciccetti. He is IATA ground operation manager for standard and safety, that he organized the session. Thank you, Massimo. And my dear panelists, thank you so much. Thank you for bearing with us, and thank you. There will be other sessions going on. Thanks a lot.
Again, that was a great session. We're going to get a chance to do some of this famous networking we talk about with a coffee break coming up. We want to thank PayCargo for sponsoring this morning's session, and also thank Iberia, who's sponsoring the morning break. So be back in here at 11 o'clock for the next session.